Welcome to Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my review of The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and ways to listen and ways to support the show excuse me, at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. You can support the show in many different ways, including sharing and liking it as well, but also signing up for the Patreon page to get the extra content there for $1 a month. Or you can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of amazing shirts and other items, more to come, with designs made by friends for the show. Also, please check out the links in every episode description for friends of the show, and that would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel, but also co-hosts the show with me on Saturdays, and then of course Michael Strange and Trouble Minds Radio, and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows 24/7, along with mine as well. And a couple of things I always like to mention here with these review shows of these books. What I'm going to be talking or saying soon is from a book I'll be reading, and these are the ideas and words and thoughts of Charles Fort, and may not be your own or my own. So we may not agree with what things he says. Also, this book was written over 100 years ago now, so keep that in mind when it comes to things that have been figured out since then that he may talk about as being anomalous, that maybe are not so much that. And then also, as always, I will make mistakes in reading the book when it comes to saying different words, and especially names of places and people if they're in other languages. So just always want to put that out there so you all know what you're getting into here. So let me get back to the book, and we'll go from there. He's been talking about astronomical events and how they're reported or explained and how they're not. Let me see here. Okay. Found my spot. Continuing on. They'd say that all this mechanism was founded upon the mutual attraction of the vessels. I also love, now if you listen to the previous episode here, you'll know he was talking about boats, about ships. But he's using that as an analogy to also talk about celestial bodies, celestial objects, and the way they move, which is, I think, is really amazing, and it really works well. I'm going to read this again. They'd say that all this mechanism was founded upon the mutual attraction of the vessels, deduced from the fall of a monkey from a palm tree, or if not that devils were pushing the vessels. Something of the kind. Storms. Debris not from these vessels, cast up by the waves. Disregarded. How can one think of something and something else, too? I'm in the state of mind of a savage who might find upon a shore, washed up by the same storm, buoyant parts of a piano and a paddle that was carved by cruder hands than his own. Something white and summery from India, and a fur overcoat from Russia, or all science, through approximating wider and wider, is attempt to conceive of India in terms of an ocean island, and of Russia in terms of India so interpreted. Though I am trying to think of Russia and India in worldwide terms, I cannot think that or other universalizing, there might be a typo, of the local is cosmic purpose. Maybe not. Anyway, the higher idealist is the positivist who tries to localize the universal and is in accord with cosmic purpose. The super dogmatist, there's a word, of a local savage who can hold out without a flurry of doubt that a piano washed up on a beach is the trunk of a palm tree that a shark has bitten, leaving his teeth in it. So we fear for the soul of Dr. Gray because he did not devote his whole life to that one stand that, whether possible or inconceivable, thousands of fishes had been cast from one bucket. This is something from way earlier in the book. So unfortunately, for myself, if salvation be desirable, I look out widely but amorphously, indefinitely, and heterogeneously. If I say I conceive of another world that is now in secret communication with certain esoteric inhabitants of this earth, I say I conceive of still other worlds that are trying to establish a communication with all the inhabitants of this earth. I fit my notions to the data I find. That is supposed to be the right and logical and scientific thing to do, but it is no way to approximate to form, system, organization. Then I think I conceive of other worlds and vast structures that pass us by within a few miles without the slightest desire to communicate, quite as tramp vessels pass many islands without particularizing one from another. Then I think I have data of a vast construction that has often come to this earth, dipped into an ocean, submerged there a while, then going away. Why? I'm not absolutely sure. How would an Eskimo explain a vessel? A vessel. Words are hard. Anyway. Sending ashore for coal, which is plentiful upon some Arctic beaches, though of unknown use to the natives, then sailing away with no interest in the natives. A great difficulty in trying to understand vast constructions that show no interest in us. The notion that we must be interesting. I just want to take a break here and say, doesn't this sound like so many discussions we've all had and or heard of where the idea of UFOs and aliens is sort of mentioned in these ways where are they interested in us? Why would they be interested in us? Because it's all about us, supposedly. It's all about humans. Anyway, I accept that, though we're usually avoided, probably for moral reasons, sometimes this earth has been visited by explorers. I think that the notion that there have been extra mundane visitors to China within what we call the historic period will be only ordinarily absurd. when we come to that datum. I accept that some of the other worlds are of conditions very similar to our own. I think of others that are very different, so that visitors from them could not live here without artificial adaptations. How some of them could breathe our atmosphere, not atmosphere, attenuated air, if they come from a gelatinous atmosphere. Masks. The masks that have been found in ancient deposits. Most of them are of stone and are said to have been ceremonial regalia of savages. But the mask that was found in Sullivan County, Missouri in 1879, and then open parentheses, American Antiquarian 3-336, close parentheses. It was made of iron and silver. And it looks like that's the end of a chapter. That's quite the way to end a chapter. Okay, moving on to the next one here. So here again, he keeps on talking about something that he doesn't have a name for yet, really. At least not the name we think of now. But again, UFOs, extraterrestrials, aliens, all these things that are so common now. But he had other names for them. Inhabitants of other worlds. And these structures that are moving through space. Again, he doesn't have the word unidentified flying object, or the term. So really amazing when you consider it's just how far back this book was written and published, and then how far long after the idea of a UFO came into being in the general public in the U.S., at least here anyway. Chapter 11. One of the damnedest in our whole Saturnalia of the accursed, because it is hopeless to try to shake off an excommunication only by saying that we're damned by blacker things than ourselves, and that the damned are those who admit they're of the damned. Inertia and hypnosis are too strong for us. We say that, then we go right on admitting we're of the damned. It is only by being more nearly real that we can sweep away the quasi-things that oppose us. Of course, as a whole, we have considerable amorphousness, but we are thinking now of individual acceptances. Wideness is an aspect of universalness or realness. If our syntheses disregard fewer data than do opposing syntheses, which are often not synthesis at all, but mere consideration of some one circumstance, less widely, synthetic things fade away before us. Harmony is an aspect of the universal, by which we mean realness. If we approximate more highly to harmony among the parts of an expression and to all available circumstances of an occurrence, the self-contradictors turn hazy. Solidity is an aspect of realness. We pile them up, and we pile them up, or they pass and pass. Things that bulk large, bulk large as they march by, supporting and solidifying one another. And still, and for regiments to come, hypnosis and inertia rule us. One of the damnedest of our data. In the Scientific American, September 10th, 1910, Charles F. Holder writes, in quotation marks here, many years ago, a strange stone resembling a meteorite fell into the valley of the Yaquai, Mexico, and the sensational story went from one end to the other of the country that a stone bearing human inscriptions had descended to the earth. The bewildering observation here is Mr. Holder's assertion that the stone did fall. It seems to me that he must mean that it fell by dislodgement from a mountainside into a valley, but we shall see that it was such a marked stone that very unlikely would it have been unknown to dwellers in a valley. If it had been reposing upon a mountainside above them, it may have been carelessness. Intent may have been to say that a sensational story of a strange stone said to have fallen. I'm just going to pause for a second here and note that with that last chapter, the ending there, he doesn't go into detail about that mask that he mentions. I wonder if that's because there is no more detail, or if he's saving it, or if he just wants to leave it there. I'm really curious about that. As far as how old the mask could have been, all these things. But anyway, this stone was reported by Major Frederick Burnham of the British Army. Later, Major Burnham revisited it, and Mr. Holder accompanied him. Their purpose to decipher the inscriptions upon it, if possible. In quotation marks again. This stone, I forgot to close them, but anyway, reading is hard. This stone, in quotation marks here, was a brown igneous rock. Its longest axis about 8 feet. That's pretty big. And on the eastern face, which had an angle of about 45 degrees, was the deep cut inscription, in quotation marks. Mr. Holder says that he recognized familiar Mayan symbols in the inscription. His method was the usual method by which anything can be, in quotation marks here, identified as anything else. That is to pick out whatever is agreeable and disregard the rest. He says that he has demonstrated that most of the symbols are Mayan. One of our intermediatist pseudo-principles is that any way of demonstrating anything is just as good as a way of demonstrating anything else. By Mr. Holder's method, we could demonstrate that we're Mayan, if that should be a source of pride to us. One of the characters upon this stone is a circle within a circle. Similar character found by Mr. Holder is a Mayan manuscript. There are 2 sixes. Sixes can be found in Mayan manuscripts, manuscripts. A double scroll. There are dots and there are slashes. Well then, we, in turn, disregard the circle within a circle and the double scroll and emphasize that sixes occur in this book. Yeah, that's a good point. And that dots are plentiful and would be more plentiful if it were customary to use the small I for the first personal pronoun. That when it comes to dashes, that's demonstrated. And he literally, there is a dash in there in between that. Where Mayan, that's him reading there, or writing there. I love that. That whole description of why, how to explain things and all that, and how it all depends on what you focus on. I do love that whole paragraph there. I suppose the tendency is to feel that we're sneering at some valuable archaeologic work, and that Mr. Holder did make a veritable identification. He writes, in quotation marks, I submitted the photographs to the Field Museum and the Smithsonian, and one or two others. And to my surprise, the reply was that they could make nothing out of it, end quotation marks. Our indefinite acceptance by preponderance of 3 or 4 groups of museum experts against one person is that a stone bearing inscriptions unassimilable with any known language on this earth is said to have fallen from the sky. Another poor wretch of an outcast belonging here is noted in the Scientific American 48-261, that of an object or meteorite that fell February 16th, 1883, near Brescia, Italy. A false report was circulated that one of the fragments bore the impress of a hand. That's all that is findable by me upon this mere gasp of a thing. Intermediatistically, that's quite the word, my acceptance is that, though in the course of human history there have been some notable approximations, there never has been a real liar. That he couldn't, lost my spot, which is not good, it's almost out of time, that he could not survive in intermediateness, where everything merges away or has its pseudo base, and anything else, and something else, would be instantly translated to the negative absolute. And we're going to go a little long here because we're in the middle of the paragraph. I think I can stop there. That's a easy enough word to end on. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.